I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Improving lives and livelihoods. Ensuring equity and justice. Promoting citizenship and democracy. About 2 decades ago, a series of dramatic changes started transforming the world order. From the collapse of the Soviet Union to the fall of the Berlin Wall, from authoritarian dictatorships to popular democracy, from governmental regulation to sweeping liberalization of economies, it was a time for quantum change. In the early 1990s, civil society was seen as an effective vehicle to eradicate inequalities and to promote democratization in developing nations. This was expected to happen through improving the lives and livelihoods of grassroots people. Globalization and economic liberalization is now facing resistance from the people all over the world, including its greatest champions, Europe and North America. Across the world, economic disparity is at an all-time high. This shifting global order is drying up the resources available for civil society in developing nations. It's being felt that middle-income countries like India, South Africa, Indonesia and Brazil do not need subsidized international aid flows anymore. Most countries in Latin America, including Chile, Argentina and Uruguay, have already experienced this phase of dried up aid resources. However, civil society providing basic services continues to receive funds from national and international sources.
The way that the civil society has increasingly become a part of a contract system of providing services to the population, but funded by and contracted by the state. So that's one of the big changes. One of the things that that's meant is that they've lost their independence in many ways, and they are very tied to government policy, like it or not.
The civil society in the new era is in the process of evolving and coping up with these changing times. Citizens around the world in all societies, barrios, towns and villages are coming out to demand accountability and seek explanations.
We are not being successful in decreasing the inequality. In fact, the gap between the rich and the poor is continuing to grow. And therefore, the story is about what is the role for civil society now in this situation where one struggle has been won only to realize that another one is awaiting the people.
These ongoing chronicles of citizen actions can be better heard, seen and taken note of when practitioners from these countries come together to compare their experiences, like in this initiative where stories of 18 countries got a unified platform. The common learning is, citizens across the world have become extremely distrustful of institutions and leaders, be they in the government or business. Their actions have emerged as tools of protest against a gaping disconnect between their daily lives and action taken by public authorities. In Chile, the students' movement began as a protest against lack of universal access to quality education.
One of the reasons is youth participation and the massive attraction that this proposal has in young people in a continent where political and social participation of young people is limited and has been decreasing.
At Kampala, the Traders Association felt their concerns were being ignored by the Finance Ministry.
We see the business sector actually representing the issues of citizens, which was a difficult task because the issues that they represented were touching almost every other citizen, but nobody came up to challenge the situation other than the traders who had the economic power.
South Africa erupted against the constant lack of basic services. Citizens' protest against authoritarian decisions by the president in Malawi expressed a lack of faith in his leadership. In India, the civil society movement took an aggressive stance because citizens here were sick of allegations of rampant corruption and misuse of public resources and wanted to see some real results.
When we realize that it is our public resources generated through the taxation of ordinary citizens that is being treated as if it is private resource and captured for private gain, then the angst and anger that was visible in the anti-corruption movement is understandable.
In Cambodia, despite dependence of farmers on their land for livelihood, government authorities connived with private contractors to initiate land grabs. Cambodian farmers erupted in protest and defiance. In Greece, citizens marched against the so-called austerity measures imposed on them by politicians.
The Syntagma Square movement has created a new language with concepts like horizontality and unruly actions and so on. And that language is quite different from the language that most of the Greek civil society organizations use. Civil society is going to have to face up to some of these choices or decide they want to stick with the system as it exists.
The world around us is changing fast. This is promoting changes in civil societies that they have no option but to adapt to. Hence, it is important to recognize the distinctive roles and contributions of civil society in this new world. That, however, will not be an easy task. Formally organized civil society actors need to redefine their identity and mission in relation to citizenship and democracy.
It's a protest that's not about violence, that's not about disruption.
Citizen mobilization, organization, and conscientization needs renewed attention. Partnership of civil society with the old and new media both expands and regulates its outreach and impacts. That's another critical focus area. In this changing scenario, the primary questions that arise are these phenomena of citizens' movements asking for fundamental shift in relationship between citizens and the state? Is there an emerging need for mechanisms or spaces to redefine this relationship? What new capacities of the various actors, institutionalized CSOs, government, private corporations, are required to make these mechanisms effective? These are questions that won't have any easy or immediate answers. But these are questions the world needs to keep asking and debating. For democracy, for peace, and a better life for everyone.